Hi guys, I'm Josh and welcome to episode 3 of RunTV. In today's episode we've got a very exciting show planned. We're going to be catching up with Tim Dansie, Psychologist, and he's going to be talking about training through the winter months, giving you a few little tips and tricks to get you motivated when the weather's a little bit nasty outside. Then we're going to cross over to Duncan from Physiotherapist, and Max is going to give us a few little tips and show us some techniques with regards to using a foam roller. A foam roller can be your best friend as a runner, keep you moving well, injury-free, and making sure you're on top of your body management. Then we're going to cross to Joggers World's shoe guru, Reece Taylor, and Reece is going to be talking about shoe rotation and why it's important and adding extra shoes into your running arsenal. So without further ado, let's get stuck in.
Hi, my name's Tim Dansie. I'm a psychologist, and you might remember from, I think it was episode 1, I spoke briefly about the winter blues, and winter is certainly upon us now. And what I thought I'd do today is quickly give you some ideas on what we can do to help stay motivated through the winter, because it is quite difficult. It's cold, wet, grey, and to find that motivation to get up and keep running can be a challenge at times. So what I'm hoping I can do is give you a couple of very simple tips to help you keep going through the winter months. So first thing I recommend is commit to your friends. I find when we agree to meet some people and go for a run together at a set time, set place, we are much more likely to stick to it. It's funny, when you're by yourself, you can always find an excuse, but when you've got your friends, it's that thinking that says, I don't want to let my friends down. So what will I do? I'm a greater chance to commit and get out there and do my run. And it's also very good socially, particularly during the times of winter when we do tend to hibernate and stay inside a lot more. So that commitment to your friends will make a massive difference. And it's also that social setting as well. Second thing I think we can do, set some goals. Be really clear about your goals, and it might be, I know in Adelaide we've got the City Bay Fun Run, which is I think it's a 12-kilometre run in September. Wonderful time to set some goals. It might be about improving your time, losing some weight, running a fun run of some kind. But if you can have a reason and a good purpose for making, for going out and running, so have that goal, because I think that really does help. And particularly if you can set goals with your friends, so you're covering two things in one go, that does help us to keep going, keep motivated as well. Another thing which I think really helps is to be well organised. I find personally, if I have all my gear out ready for myself, and I have my clothes, my shoes, cold weather gear if I need it, I make sure that I've got it all set up, ready to go, so I'm seeing it. It's that visual cue that reminds me of, right, Tim, get up and get organised and go for a run. And also I think what goes with that, you can have some little pictures as well, you might have your entry form for a fun run that you want to do where you can see it. It's those little things that you can set up around the place that just helps to remind you, right, this is why I'm getting up and going for that run through the cold winter months. Now, and I guess the other thing I'd always say is within your organisation, make sure you've got the right equipment. Obviously, Joggers World, wonderful for clothing and shoes. So get in and talk to the staff in there about making sure you've got the right gear, because the thing I think is also important through winter from a psychological point of view is to be comfortable. So you're actually not cold or miserable when you are out there running. And I have this wonderful saying, there is no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing, and your skin is waterproof. So get out there, run around in the rain and enjoy it. So try putting those things into your routine, into your preparation for running. So get with your friends, get committed to your friends, set some goals, set some targets, be organised and set some visual cues up for yourself. Go out there and keep yourself running and have fun. Thanks very much, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. So have a good day and enjoy your running. Thanks, guys.
Hi, I'm Duncan from Physiotherapist, and at the clinic we see lots of runners, from athletics SA road runners to your weekend warriors and beginners. And we constantly get asked, how can we use a foam roller to help our running? So today we're going to go through the 5 top tips for using a foam roller and how it can help you with running. Now, there's lots of different things you could use. We've got a big roller here, but you might have a massage ball, a tennis ball, a massage stick, a small roller. The list goes on. There's so many different things you could use for tissue release, but the principles are still the same. So we're going to cover off on how to roll certain areas and the tips of how to do it effectively. Let's start with the techniques for foam rolling, and then we're going to isolate it for each specific area. So when you're rolling an area, say like your calf, the main thing is you don't want to be rolling over the back of your knee or over the bone in your heel. So if you take a hand's distance between both, that's going to make it a lot better. You don't want to be rolling over your kneecap or your shin bone because it's not going to feel great, same as your hip bone. With rolling, there's a few different ways you can do it. The best way to start is more of a general pass up and down the roller, which everyone seems pretty comfortable with doing. It's the easiest, funnest way to do it. But you can be more specific. So as you're rolling, you might find like, oh, there's a pretty sore spot. Then once you've found it, you're going to go into rocking side to side. So you're going to move from either side of that sore spot over and across. And then you can do small little movements up and down or side to side or in big circles on that same spot. And then the third way is to add in an active movement. So if I find that spot, I've done some few circles, I'm going to start moving my foot up and down and drawing some circles with my foot to try and actively release that area. Those are the best three techniques for getting through that muscle tissue. And the principles remain the same for each area. For the first area we're going to work through, it's the calf and the perineals. As I said, don't roll behind the knee or over your ankle bone. And we're going to use those techniques to go up and down, find small spots side to side, and then actively release the spot. So from your calf, you can start double leg or single leg by crossing over. To make it harder, you could also lift your weight up and move through it to make it more pressure through your calf. Once you've done those spots, you can then roll to your side for your perineals down the side of your shin. And again, you might choose to have just one leg on the roller, hips down, hands on the ground to help you move up and down to start with. Or you might decide to go actually more pressure on one leg, lifting up almost into a side plank as you go through those spots. And again, as you roll through, it's easy to have your hands on the ground, or it might be easy to have a foot touching to help take that pressure away. Area number 2, quad and hamstring, so above the knee. Same principles, not over the knee bone, not over your hip bone. We're going to move the roller up on the mat. Double leg to start with, easiest way to start. Then if that pressure is not enough, you can cross your leg over, lift your hips up off the ground to put more pressure through that muscle bulk. And you're going to use those techniques to find those sore spots and actively work through it. That should be really good. From here, the best thing is to roll over to your side to do the side of your quad and through your ITB. Again, the principles remain the same, but from here, when you're doing your active movement, you can bend your knee and straighten your foot out on the roller as you move through. So as you find your spot, actively you can bend and stretch that knee. From here, once you've done that outside, you can roll over to the front. So I'm going to use my outside leg here. From there, when you're doing the front of your quad, you can have both legs down at the same time, or you might choose to swap one leg over the top to work on that pressure, supporting yourself on your forearms as you go. Remember to keep your core engaged, don't just completely relax on the roller as you do it. The next area is through your glute and through your hip flexors. You don't want to roll over your pelvis bone or through your hip bone on the side, but the areas around it are all safe to roll on. So I'm going to start with my bottom on the roller. You can kind of shift your weight side to side to get an easy starting point, but then I like to cross that leg over and then do the same thing, rocking side to side and working through those tight areas. From here, if you straighten that leg out and then start to rotate over, you can then have your other leg behind or in front to help you as you rotate. But you can then rock forward over into your hip flexor on the outside, or rock back and over to do the other part of your glute. This is a really good way to get into the side of that hip. Another thought is reaching that bottom leg really long as you do it to open up through the bottom part of your hip. For your back, often people want to try and roll their lower back, but we find that it often causes more harm than good. If you want to do spots through your lower back, you're better off grabbing a massage ball or a tennis ball, leaning up against a wall and trying to get into the spots on either side that are muscly through your low back, not over the spine in the middle. We're going to go through the T-spine on the roller. So we're going to position the roller a little bit higher than your lower back, and going to start with hips on the ground, feet tucked under, hands behind head just to support your neck. And from here you could start with small movements or lift your hips up to go through that broader stroke, just being careful not to do that smaller part of your lower back. So we've got our general big passes, and then where it's different to rolling your legs is once you find a really tight spot, you can support your head and brace through your core, and then slowly rock backwards over the roller to really open up through your T-spine. It's important to breathe the whole way through, but if you hold that for 2 deep breaths, come back up, move up a section, do the same thing again, you'll be able to really open up through your back as you go. Of course, you can shift side to side or move down towards your hips each way to really open up through your back. Those are our 5 top tips for foam rolling. Now, rolling is a really useful tool for muscle prep and for recovery and releasing some tension, but it's not the be all and end all. So often we'll see people who have a tight calf and they have to roll for 30 minutes before and after they run every single time. And one thing is it's a waste of time, but it means that there's something else going on that needs to be addressed. So if that's the case, if you're rolling and you're constantly getting tension or it's not changing from it, then there's probably something else going on that needs to be addressed, like a strength or a stability issue or a range of motion problem elsewhere. And that's where we're here to help. So if you have any questions about foam rolling or any issues that have been hanging around, contact us at the clinic and we're more than happy to have a chat and help you achieve your goals. Thanks.
Hey guys, Reece from Joggers World here, and today I'm going to be talking about shoe rotation. And no, I'm not just talking about tipping your shoe over to get the dirt out. I'm talking about when is it beneficial to have more than one shoe on the go in your running regime. If you're at that stage of your running career, where you're running on consecutive days, or you have some specific sessions that you're looking to do in your training program, then there might be some benefit of having multiple shoes on the go. Studies have shown that having multiple shoes in your rotation could reduce the chance of injuries. The reason this works is twofold. One, some manufacturers will say it'll take between 24 and 48 hours for a shoe to completely decompress or to come back to close to its original intended cushioning and support. However, more importantly, running-related injuries tend to come from continual high or increased load. So having more than one shoe in your rotation could reduce the chance of an overload injury. The reason this works is because the body is continually adapting to the minute changes between each shoe. Not just the physical, there's also the mental side too. I find that having a couple of pairs of shoes to switch between can freshen things up and keep us motivated towards our running goals. I sort of look like this. We don't eat the same meal every time. We'd like to change it up and vary the flavour. Same thing goes for our running shoes. Every time we change a shoe, it might feel a little bit fresh and keep us moving towards our running goals. So what does that menu look like? The suggestion can be simply to rotate in a second pair of shoes so that you're switching between them and not running in the same shoe on consecutive days. Or if you want to get really smart with your training, you add in specific shoes for the session intended. What I mean by that is that if we're heading out for an interval session, then we might want something that's super lightweight and responsive to help us push towards those hard efforts. Then we might want a pair to suit our slightly slower yet still hard tempo runs. These shoes tend to still be quite lightweight and responsive, but maybe a little bit more cushioned and protective than your session and race day shoe. Finally, a nice comfortable pair for our long and slow runs. These tend to be the heaviest of the group and tend to have the most cushioning and support, as we spend the most amount of time in these in our training load. Of course, all the shoes that you choose need to be comfortable and functional for your particular gait. Another option, which I mentioned in episode 2, was to add a trail shoe into your rotation. This could be the alternate shoe or adding to the others as well. You get 2 benefits when you head off road, and that is not only the rotation of a different shoe, but also the mental change when you're going to a different scenery, plus the physical of all the different varying terrains underfoot. So if you are starting to increase your running load, then adding a shoe to your weekly menu could keep you moving really well. So simply adding a second pair of shoes to alternate between runs, or get smart with your training and look for session-specific shoes. And always flip your shoe over to get the dirt out of the shoe.
That is a wrap for episode 3 of RunTV. I just want to say a huge thank you to our special guests, Tim Dansie, and giving us some great practical tips for getting through the winter months, and Max Duncan from Physiosmart, and how to use a foam roller, or how to introduce a foam roller into your training routine. And a big shout out to Reece Taylor from Joggers World and giving us some great insight into shoe rotation and why it's important. Obviously, all of our content is all about enjoying the sport of running, staying injury free, and achieving your running goals, no matter how big or small they might be. If you've got any questions on today's topics, please drop it in the comments field below. If there's something you would like us to cover in future episodes, just let us know. Until next time, stay safe, happy running, and we will see you soon. Take care.